Hey everybody, it's your girl Sherry, and welcome back to another episode of Alleged Actually Podcast. Today I am joined by my guest co-host, Big Nige. Big Nige, what's up?
The new 2K dropped today, so definitely excited to play that. Probably not very many 2K fans that's watching this right now.
You
I'm
never
sure
know.
they might have kids, friends, that thing that is definitely looking forward to it. So I'm looking forward to a great show and then drop some people off in 2K afterwards.
Okay. Duly noted. So guys, tonight is none other than 90 Day Fiancé night. We are going to be discussing 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, the latest episode that aired on Monday night. For some of the couples, we didn't have a ton going on, but we had some notable moments for a couple of them. So we're going to just get right into it. So, first off, though, I would like it if you guys would just do me a quick favor and go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and share with the masses. Make sure you interact with us and put your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe. We are at 4.5 thousand subscribers. And so we are trying to reach our next goal of 5,000. So thank you to all our actualizers. And guys, if you would please just keep sharing. And those of you that are new, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You won't be sorry. So without further ado, we're going to get into 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way. The way we do the recap on this show, we just go couple by couple and we talk about what happened with them in the episode. So we're going to kick it off with Tata and James. So they have decided, well, they are getting ready to move into this palatial home that her parents has. I mean, on the outside, y'all, it is very, very impressive. It really looks palatial, like a palace. However, all parts of the house are not created equal. So they move in and they are told they can go to their room. They're shown to their quarters. And it is literally, in James's words, looking like a concrete prison cell. So they get right to work, though. I got to give James his props. He's out of his element, clearly, but he loves Tata enough that he keeps getting in there and making it work. So they start to clean everything up. And then they go to lay down some flooring, y'all. I'm not sure. It's like literally laying down sticky paper. So yeah, that was new to me. And then a little wallpaper, some cleaning up a little bit, a little mattress on the floor for a bed, and now that's home. Big Nige, what do you think about their? I mean, listen, they should be grateful because that's a free place for them to stay while they get their lives together. So I'm certainly not downplaying it, but what did you think about that?
I think it was interesting to see the process. It's definitely something that I couldn't put myself in. I couldn't put myself in their shoes. Like, imagine getting married, living together, then moving across country to move back in with your parents. And then when you go to move in, then you have to pretty much build your room from ground zero. So it's just a whole lot of steps that I don't think I could do myself personally. So
Mm,
I tip my cap off to them because they're some troopers. They're
yeah,
James is trying to make it work. Um, I thought it was interesting that Tata still hasn't told her parents that James doesn't want to have kids, and that's like the biggest question that's been luring them. Aside from what are they going to do, how they're going to make consistent money, where are they going to stay, both in the short term and the long term. Things that they're continuing to answer as we progress through the show. But I'm waiting for that. When is
yeah,
James and Tata gonna finally just get a conclusion together? Are they having kids or are they not? Because
well,
kids aren't for everybody, and that's
no,
that's okay. But
yeah,
it just seems like Tata really wants kids. Her mom and dad want her to have kids, and James is just unsure.
yeah,
So he's got to have there's got to be some kind of plan for James. I think for him to fully commit into that regard, they got to
Agree.
have come. They got to have a good place. They got to get out from under their parents' thumb. And then once all that is squared away, I think you could have a better conversation. But at the
Yeah,
same time,
exactly. About bringing kids in the world. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that brings me to that next point of after they get done putting this living space together, they go down to join the rest of the family. Now, remember, there are 7 people that live there, so I mean, it's a big home, but there are other family members that live there, and so her sister and nephews are downstairs, and he comes down and brings gifts for everyone, and he greets them in Indonesian, which I thought was impressive, and they seem to appreciate that too. Well received by all, but that's when, as Big Nige has alluded to, they drop that, you know what, we can't wait for you guys to give us some grandkids. So the issue's not going to go away. They've made it clear they want grandbabies from them. And it stresses Tata out because she knows James is not there yet. So we're just going to have to keep checking them out and see, like Big Nige says, I concur. I believe that if he had a clear path of understanding of how they're going to afford to live there, if they have a place, um, a plan, then children could be in the conversation. Right now, I just think things are a little too unsettled for him to even consider kids. And so we'll keep watching James and Tata. And so now we're going to go over to Ingi and Corona. Last week we saw she finally got to meet his family, and all of her reservations and the worry about how they were going to receive her being the first Black person to ever come through the house, all of that dissipated. They welcomed her with open arms, and so it went well. They are now back at their place, and she is preparing Ingi for maybe the not so warm welcome he may receive from her family, because they're going to do a video call with them. And it's not so much that it's not that they're not going to be welcoming, it's just different. And so she does let him know, make sure that he enunciates and speaks loud, because we find out her mom is hard of hearing. And Ingi is just kind of like, he's just kind of like, whatever, bring it. He doesn't seem to let a lot rattle him, because I don't think he takes a lot of things real serious. So the video chat goes as she kind of thought. There is a lot of spice there, a lot of sass. The question with the volcano, if they're near a volcano, and he's not gonna have her Mookie get up by a volcano. That was kind of crazy, but at least that he gets to know her nickname is Mookie. There wasn't a whole lot of meat there with that, other than the fact that they, just like Ingi's parents are ready for grandchildren, they are ready for him to put a ring on it. So they're getting pressure from both sides. Ingi seems like, again, he's not where Corona is. Corona is probably at the point where she's starting to wonder. I mean, let's keep in mind, though, still, and I think Big Nige said this last week, they've only been together for 4 months. So these conversations are very premature. But for someone to go across the world to start a life with someone, those are conversations that at least preliminarily need to be had. Big Nige, what did you think of Ingi and Corona's chat with Corona's family?
I thought the conversation was good. It was much needed. It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of funny. Like I was kind of engaging with it, the little banter going back and
Oh,
forth,
yeah.
like Corona saying, like Ingi was saying, like he could not see a bad side of her mom, and Corona said, "You gonna learn." And we clearly see, it was just a lot of fun back and forth. Corona's family asked if she has popped off on Ingi yet, and he's like, "No, I don't think so." And he's like, then he leans over to her and is like, "Have you?" And it's just again, you just if she pops off, trust me, he will know. But
Right.
he just again does not care. Even if she were to pop off, he doesn't give the energy that he would respond like, "Oh no," he'd just be like, "Okay, she's yelling at me." So And that's what her family alluded to. When she's popping off, kind of just isolate yourself. Get out of her way. I think they were saying say yes as well, and just
Uh-huh.
go in the other room. So obviously her family understands who she is, what she represents, and of course
Oh
what she brings to the table. Making sure that her education is first and foremost, and making sure that she's doing the necessary things to continue her education, so she didn't throw away all those years she put in, prior to going to meet Ingi.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Again, you didn't get too much from Ingi. Just he was just kind of rolling with it, and Corona
Yeah.
and her folks were just kind of asking the right questions, but Ingi really wasn't giving much very thoughtful responses. So I think the only thing of meaning I would say from this is when they asked him why was he not, why has he never been in a meaningful relationship,
Yeah.
and he kind of gave them a sweet answer saying like I've been waiting for the right person like Corona. I've been, just kind of, living life, but I'm here and I want to build with her, etc., etc. He didn't say verbatim that, but that's the
Yeah.
gist
That's
he
what
got
yeah.
from his conversation with them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, he is there, it looks like he's willing to try, willing to learn. We'll just see if that's enough. All right, guys. So now we're going to move on over to Lily and Josh. And, this couple still has me like, I don't have high hopes for them. I think you and I have touched on it almost every recap. They just have a massive miscommunication problem and an understanding translation problem. You know, it just doesn't seem to be getting any better, guys. And majorly what I gathered from it, Josh is now becoming really frustrated. And the premise of it is, they're in a car and he keeps talking about this white flashing light. He wants to figure out what it is. And, she keeps blowing him off. And it's driving him crazy. They talk about it, and I'm really minimizing it. Big Nines, you can add your thoughts to it, but basically, he brings it up to her, and the bigger issue for the two of them is that when he does talk to her, that she interrupts him, she cuts him off, and that's frustrating for him. It'd be frustrating for anybody. From her perspective, she doesn't always understand what he's saying, meaning the translation piece. For her flashing light, she's like, it wasn't registering. And so I think instead of her continually asking what he means, sometimes she blows him off. And she says that in the same regard, the fact that she doesn't always understand, that he doesn't seem very patient with her when she clearly is not fully gathering what he means by his statements. And so they just kind of keep missing each other. But one thing is for sure, Lily is not here for a marriage that, because she says there are times when she doesn't feel loved and that he doesn't seem happy. She's just not going to be here for a marriage that is not a happy, loving scene. I mean, I guess she's been there, done that. So, what were your thoughts, Big Nudge?
So just like you said, and just like we've talked about in previous shows, their biggest uh, problem is miscommunication and lack of translation. Now, I want to kind of challenge both of them. Obviously I can't do this in real time, but why are they not using the app that he used when he was talking to the taxi driver when he upon arrival to China? If
Mm-hmm.
there's so much of a big, you know, communication error or mishap, why are you not using that app?
Yeah.
See, it's problems like this that are like very mind-boggling to me as couples, because you guys are spending more time arguing about the problem than about how you can fix it.
Yeah.
And they have a simple one. Obviously, there's love on both sides, so you got that out the way. It's just a matter of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're speaking one way and she's speaking another way, and you guys aren't hearing each other, it just makes more sense to find some way to understand each other better. And albeit you can slow your words down and she cannot cut you off, but at the same time, it still doesn't alleviate the language barrier. You know,
Right.
she has her language, you have your language, you have to find some way to bridge the gap, and they already have a form of communication, which is that, you know, language translator on his phone or whatever. So that's really what their biggest issue is. That's a really easy fix in my opinion. It doesn't fix everything, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. I
Hmm.
just don't think that Josh is, for whatever reason, he's not registering that he can use that to help their communication woes. In that, like, that flashing light, I don't even see why it's so important. Like, if she didn't understand you, why are you still like carry on about it? Like, it's a flashing light, you'll see again and again, and maybe the next time you ask her, maybe she'll understand it better because you ask her so much. Or
Right.
she just won't because it's annoying because you have to keep continuing to ask about it. But
It's very,
that's their big thing. It's all about communication.
it is.
There is a way that I just explained how they could fix it, but do they have enough patience and time together to do so? You know, we don't have that answer.
No, not yet. We'll just keep watching them. Yeah, I mean the argument itself was extremely silly, but we really know that the bigger issue definitely is the communication piece, and I think there's frustration on both sides. We'll keep checking them out, y'all, and see how they evolve as a couple. My prediction, I don't know that it's gonna work, but we'll keep we'll keep watching and we'll see. Which brings us to our next couple, Shekina and Sarper. Now, I was waiting for them because when we left them last week, they'd had this blowout. And if you guys remember last week, I said this, Sarper, and we'll get to it because it starts off with Shekinah, but they had an argument after they had went to celebrate their birthdays. They had gone to have a birthday dinner with his family. It went really well, other than the fact that this was the time when they let them know that um, they are pursuing a K-1 visa for him to come to the United States to live with Shekinah. That is the process that they're going to use to be married, versus initially they were going to have her come and live full time in Turkey. So it was met with some very unhappy parents, some tears from the mom, um, which certainly left him feeling emotional and in his head. When they got back to their apartment, they had a fight. We come to find out though, she's kind of still in the hotel room because after the fight, she left and went to an hotel. She's still there, and so she talks a little bit more about what happened and where she's at. Um, he has reached out to try to apologize. He's extremely regretful for what happened. She's not at the point to receive it yet, so there's been no response. But she lets us in on kind of what happened. So after they had that nice birthday dinner, she says, "Babe, when we get back, I want to give you your gifts." And she believes that he had not gotten her any birthday gifts. So that's when he becomes adamant that he's going to buy her that vanity. Well, as we know, she kind of didn't like any of the vanities there. And she keeps saying, "No, I don't want you to spend that money. I didn't like it anyway. Um, I don't need it." And he was adamant. That led to him saying that, he had changed his whole life for her. She'd done nothing, and it just escalated. And she says that, she realizes that, he went to grab the phone when the extensions were pulled out. She does acknowledge that that was not intentional. However, the fact that he was the aggressor to grab her phone really bothered her, because we learned that Shekinah has been in a relationship before where there was, some abuse. And so that's not okay. And she said that Sarper really doesn't know that because he does not want to talk about her past, but it's very much a part of her past. And she said, even if that hadn't happened, him forcibly taking something from her is just not okay. Now, I'm going to agree with that. It's not okay. Um, she's basically at the point where she's saying, I can literally, I never want to see that Sarper ever again. She's still on the fence about what she's going to do at this point. And then it rolls over to Sarper. Before we get to that, what were your thoughts on Shekina in the hotel room and kind of giving her side of things?
Yeah, when she was venting about her side of things, honestly, it kind of sounded like she was kind of making excuses for him, like trying to find a way of maybe like convincing the audience and convincing herself that Sarper just didn't do what he just did. Um, and obviously she goes in detail about it, like you elegantly so spoke, but it just I don't know, it just didn't sound right to me. Like she was covering up maybe something extra that could have happened and just said, yeah, he took the phone. Yeah, some extensions got pulled out of my hair, but I know that's not what he was trying to do. Well, he might not have tried to do it, but he still did it. He
Mm-hmm.
still was in a hostile manner, towards you, but you're trying to kind of dismiss it and downplay it of like it's just a little couple spat that y'all can get through. Obviously she said that he still needs to work on some things, and if he thinks everything's going to be all fine and dandy after this with no change, he's out of his mind. And I agree, but I
Mm-hmm.
also don't think she should like kind of downplay. I think she should have speak all her truth, get
Mm-hmm.
everything out there, and then let Sarper be the one to kind of make right. Don't start making excuses for him, because you start making excuses for these kinds of actions, there's no telling what Sarper could do the next time he loses his control.
Agreed. Agreed. And with that, then they go over to Sarper and we get Sarper's side. Basically, he admits that after the birthday dinner, that the how things went with he told his parents that and his sister that they were applying for the K1 visa for him to go to the United States, that their unhappiness was really in his head. He admits that he overreacted and things went way too far. He is extremely sorry. He shows all of the times that he's reached out via text to no avail. She's just not having it. He looks really shaken, really sad, but it's at the point where if their relationship is going to go forward, and at this point we don't know. I'm with you, Big Nige. Though I think she was making excuses to give a segue so that they can find their way back to each other. I said it last week. I don't believe that we've seen the last of Shekina and Sarper as a couple. I don't think she's willing to throw in the towel just yet, but those are the kind of things, especially with a woman that's been in an abusive relationship before, that you have to watch. I mean, life is gonna life, right? And those kind of reactions where you lunge at someone or you try to pull something forcibly from someone, that's that's not okay. So my thoughts are they will, I'm sure, find their way to each other to at least have a conversation. But again, I don't have high. Well, I haven't anyway, but I don't have very high hopes for that couple either. I really don't. But we will have to just keep tuning in and see. So, guys, that brings us to the last couple that was featured in Monday night's episode, and that is Statler and Dempsey. And y'all know that initially, when we started recapping this season, I said that that was my favorite couple. Um, I'm watching them fall apart right before my eyes. And gosh, this episode was very telling. I gotta say, I was a little taken aback, a little bit. Um, so when we initially see them, they're both happy. They had spent their night in the van. They let us know they've christened the van, all that good stuff, whatever. They look happy. They've connected as a couple, and everything looks really, really promising until they're getting ready to go to what's called a boot sale. And that is England's version of like a flea mall slash garage sale, where you literally, they call like your back, your trunk, like your boot. So, like a trunk sale, if you will. So, they're getting ready to do that. And Statler is still mulling over the fact of the conversation that she had with her friend about how she just overgives and it's not reciprocated. She does talk to Dempsey about it a little bit because they're talking about what they're going to go do, the fact that she's going to go sell some things. And, Statler is still very uneasy about the fact that she's the only one working and that Dempsey just doesn't seem to have a plan or care. But they're going to do this boot sale. She tells her about, the conversation she had with her best friend. And basically, Dempsey starts to get really annoyed. Like, where is this all coming from? We had this agreement, but, all of her uncertainty. And so anyway, they get to the location. They're going to the boot sale. Dempsey's setting up with the table, and she's got some clothes and things that she's selling. They have a customer that's comes up and actually purchases an outfit. And so basically Statler is still on the edge about money. And she asked Dempsey, like, well, what is your plan to make money? This boot sale is good. She was like, well, what happens if we don't sell it all? Or she's just trying to really gauge where Dempsey's at as far as how Dempsey's going to contribute. And Dempsey was like, look, the way I work, I ask the universe when I need something, and the universe provides. I work when I need to, and when I don't, I don't. And because Statler even asked her, with the stuff she's selling, like, what if it doesn't sell? What if, she's like, whatever. And she's like, well, do you have a plan? And she's like, no. She's like, okay. So basically then she's like, look, it doesn't matter. I have a little something, I still have some money left from when I sold my car. And that's, y'all, when my jaw dropped, because I was like, oh, so Dempsey sold her car. Now, exactly what Statler said was exactly what I was thinking when she said it, because we all distinctly remember when she was upset with Statler for not selling her car, which was part of their plan, and for the fact that they still had 6,000 pounds left that they still needed. And she calls Statler and says, hey, we don't have this money. You got to do something or else we're not going to be able to get this van. Never once did she mention, hey, I got a little something I can throw towards it. Ooh, red flag. I like Dempsey, but Dempsey, girl, you were wrong for that now. It's supposed to be a team. It's like you got your little hideaway stash and you letting Statler take out loans, get advances on pay. That seemed a little unbalanced to me. So now I am siding with Statler. Her anxiety was maybe somewhat founded. So, at this point, Statler hears her say it, and you can see her wheels start turning. But she does hold herself until they get into the van after it's all said and done. And back in the van, she's been stewing on the fact that she's had that money. And basically, she shares with Dempsey her concerns. Also, we come to find out the van is only in Dempsey's name. That's another red flag. And I'm like, wow, Statler, it seems to be happening to you all over again, sis. What in the world? What she says doesn't make sense, but I mean, things could be different in England. I mean, you absolutely can have two people on a loan. She said that only the van could be in only one person's name. The way it appears, though, is like they bought it from an individual. So, like, maybe it was, to me, once you buy it, there is no loan. You purchase it. They got all the money, bought it from the man, and went on. So if she meant only one person can be on the title, yes. Okay. Statler says to her, okay, well, what if something crazy happens, like I'm in the bathroom and you decide to take off? Where does that leave me? I call the cops and they're like, hey, nothing we can do about it. The van's in her name. Yeah, far-fetched, maybe not. Dempsey's like, well, that wouldn't happen. That's far-fetched, But the bottom of the line is all of Statler's fears seem to be showing some signs that history just could repeat itself, possibly. Dempsey's not her past, but Dempsey wasn't forthright with her having a stash. And, they seem to recall things very differently. Dempsey says that, you were okay with being the breadwinner and taking care of things. We had the conversation that at a later time we could put your name on the van later, but you said nothing else further about it. Statler doesn't recall this conversation. Look, the whole thing is a hot mess. I'll wrap up my piece of the recap on them by saying, Dempsey she seems really taken off guard. She seems hurt. Statler finds that as very defensive. She was hurling quite a few things at Dempsey. So, no one's going to receive that with, oh, okay, thanks. You don't trust me? Yeah, sure. No, you're going to be like, well, where is this coming from? What are you talking about? And Statler was like, you're being defensive. And it's just seemingly it's starting to go down a very dark path. It's already starting. They're not trusting it, or she's not trusting Dempsey. Dempsey is confused because, according to Dempsey on her side, they had already hashed this out, and now Statler is backpedaling and or forgetting conversations they had. I don't know, guys. If you put in the comments, who do you believe? Are you now feeling Statler has a point? Pop off in the comments. Let us know. Big Nige, I'm gonna slide it over to you. What were your thoughts on Statler and Dempsey?
Yeah, so you definitely pointed out a lot of the big points. I think obviously that conversation, any conversation apparently with finances with these two, it just always goes down a slippery slope. Like we see Statler very organized, very structured, wants to know what's coming down the pipeline. Dempsey, like we've known, she's carefree, no plans, just going in gung ho.
Yep.
And as we continue to see this relationship go, it's got some decent highs, but some low lows. And that's just because these two people are just on different ends of the spectrum, right? And and because of that, how they look at problems is challenging for one another. Statler goes to, okay, let me get my bearings together. Let me regroup. Let me recalibrate. How much money do we have for this month? Can we ration it for the next month and the month after that? Yeah, she's formulating a long-term plan. Dempsey is in the moment. Everything's short term. As long as we got the lights on today, we're good. We can worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes around,
Yep.
right? And you got these two different people. It's just not going to work, right? And they say that money is the root of all evil. I mean, you with some of these couples, it very well might be. I mean, we see Lily and Josh. Anytime Lily says anything about money, Josh loses his mind,
Yeah.
right? James and Tata, James is fixated. I need a plan about how we gonna make this money. If you don't got a plan for me, scratch kids. We're not even gonna stay in Indonesia. We're gonna go back to Cold Town, Maine,
Yep.
right? And let alone Statler and Dempsey, any financial conversation they have, Dempsey's like, man, you're overthinking this. We're good. We got the food in the fridge today. We got the lights on today. We got the gas in the big old van, so we're good, right? But then
Yep.
Statler's like, man, how much like that gas was a lot. How are we going to continue to, you know, afford this lifestyle, filling up this big old gas guzzler all the time? You want to go all over creation, and I'm going to be working here. Got no plan of how we're going to continue this. And it's just like, especially for these two, it might be the root of all evil because it's going to get a big wedge in between them before they can even reach their full potential.
Agreed. I agree. It's doomed from the start because, just like you said, Big Nige, they are two totally different sides of the spectrum. You have the free spirit that just will go with the wind, however the wind blows her, and you have one that just has to have it planned out, or else it's going to give her an immense amount of anxiety. The two just, people say opposites attract. They may attract, but does that keep them together? Mm, I don't know. I don't think so. Um, so again, same thing with Statler and Dempsey. We're just gonna have to keep watching to find out. This season is probably we probably have about, I don't even know, just a few more episodes, and so we're gonna keep checking it out, y'all, and keep bringing y'all the tea on these couples. You guys, let us know in the comments what you thought. What do you think of the recap? What did you think of the couples? Do you agree? Like I said, are you team Statler, team Dempsey? What did you think about Shekina and Sarper? Do you think they're going to get back together? Do you think Shekina's done? What are your thoughts? Let us know. So before we close, I know Big Nige has got things to do with that 2K. I'm going to let him do a quick plug. Any 2K players out there, fans, that's your guy. Hop on. He wants to get his opportunity to do his big one. So Big Nige, yeah, go ahead and plug the Goatcast podcast real quick, and then we're going to bid you guys good night.
Yep. So just like she just said, I'm Big Nige, co-host of the Goatcast podcast. Or my other co-host, CW. We just talk about basketball topics, past, present, and future. We just dropped a video last night, reacting to these 2K ratings that they gave these NBA players in this game. Some are a little high, some a little low. We give our thoughts in that last video. Also, if you missed it, we had the GOAT debate between my guy LeBron James and CW's guy Michael Jordan. So definitely tune into that and make sure you weigh in the comment section on who you think the GOAT is. But outside of that, we'd love to have your support. We'd love you to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend's friend, and keep the word moving. We greatly appreciate it.
All right. Well, you heard it right there. Going over to Goatcast podcast for all things basketball. All right, guys. We're just going to say thank you so much for tuning in. Join us again next week. We're going to do this again next Wednesday. Again, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you then. Bye.